Hi, friends. Today I'm launching a new series to discuss some of the themes in my forthcoming book, Chronic Hope: Raising a Child with Chronic Illness with Grace, Courage, and Love. But I don't want to do all of the talking because you're going to have a chance to hear from me a whole lot once my book comes out on April 13th. But so beginning today and every Monday during November, which is National Diabetes Awareness Month, you'll get a chance to hear from one of my friends in the type 1 diabetes world and hear how she handles the emotional stress of raising a child with T1D. So I'll be releasing one of these new videos every Monday. So you can look for them on Facebook or Instagram or my YouTube channel or over on my website at bonnieoneil.com. So let's get started. Today I'm with my good friend Carole Wells, and Carole and I have known each other for about 10 years, as long as her son Christopher has been living with type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed when he was 9. Carole and I have served on the board of JDRF, Greater Delaware Valley chapter, for quite a long time. And Carole also has 2 other sons. They're now ages 24, 19, and 16. And she was formerly in the television business, and these days prefers a little bit more time on the golf course. And also, thanks to COVID, she's not in the almost empty nest stage anymore. She's got 4 hungry men around her all the time. So Carole, it's great to be with you today, and fitting to having all of these hungry young men at home. We're going to be talking about fatigue. So we're going to talk about caregiver fatigue today, and especially how much that impacts us as caregivers, as parents of a child with T1D in those early years when so much of the burden of care falls on the parents. But then we're also going to talk about being strong amidst all of that fatigue. So, Carole, how have you experienced diabetes caregiver fatigue, and what do you do to help yourself get back to a place of hope?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on in this format. It's not often as a T1D parent that we're asked to talk about feelings, talk about all the struggles and the challenges. We're typically asked about dosing and insulin and all the technical stuff, but I think there's a huge gap in the care of type 1 diabetes and the emotional support that isn't always there. So I appreciate the opportunity. And as you said, I'm kind of a little bit more removed from the day-to-day care because my child is now 19. He's been living with type 1 for 10 years. And interestingly enough, even though it's been 10 years, it certainly hasn't, the memory of all that care does not diminish. The memories are still really powerful and very strong. And the 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. And this is before we had Dexcoms to give, the readings. And my husband and I would get up and, we'd get up in the middle of the night, every night, 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and do, finger sticks and, the whole kit and caboodle. And I was guilty of pretending I was in a deep sleep. So it was his turn, and we would do rock, paper, scissors. Like, no, I did that one. You did that, because it affects your relationship as well.
Mhm.
So the fatigue is very real. And I just remember how we kind of dealt with it is you're in it. I kind of always felt like you're running a race without a finish line. You're just in it. And you don't really realize you're in it until they go to like a diabetes camp for 4 or 5 nights. And all of a sudden you don't have that routine that you have to do. And at first it's euphoria, and then it's shocking because you realize the care didn't go away. It just shifted when he left. And what really, I know if my husband were here right now, he would agree. It's the guilt of him not getting a vacation or a break from it that kept us always going, that we would get our mini breaks. We would go away maybe for a weekend, or he would go to diabetes camp, and we would have some relief from the never ending this used to be 10 finger pricks a day. But but to answer your question succinctly, it was knowing that he doesn't get any relief, and he still doesn't.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And how have you found the place of hope in that?
The hope has been that, when so many kids I know are diagnosed at really tender young ages. He was 9, very common age, 7, 9, you hear even, obviously younger, and they just don't really know what's going on. So to finally see, it took him a while, but to see his acceptance,
Mm,
and in his teenage years, he kind of, relied on us to his early teen years, relied on us to care for him. So there we were, you know, he'd be 13, 14, 15 years old, and we were still doing all the things for him, getting up when he would go low in the middle of the night and giving him a chocolate milk or doing all those things. And I just remember worrying, like, when is he going to do this on his own? And the maturity, the hope was watching him mature with this disease. And actually, Bonnie, you were one of the ones who told me, because I know Austin is what, 4 or 5 years older than Chris is, and I was like, how is this going to work? And you said he will eventually come to it. I do think, and this is biased, I think girls sometimes, I have no scientific study, it's just my own opinion, that girls sometimes gravitated towards it a little sooner.
yeah,
But he eventually graduated to doing 100% care on his own. And, so that's the hope, that he's embraced this. This is my life.
yeah,
It's not good. It sucks, to be honest, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to keep myself really healthy. So that's the hope, the way he manages this. And he's now a freshman in college is really, really, not only does it make us really proud, but that's the hope.
that's great. And like we really do need each other in this T1D world, and we learn from those who are just a few years ahead of us. And I've had people in my life too that I would cling to that way and
Yes.
say, "Wait, show me that there's a light at the
Yeah.
end of the
Oh
tunnel."
my God. Yeah. So when
Yeah.
you told me, specifically remember you saying, "Don't worry, he will eventually graduate." I'm like, no, no, he won't, and he did. So it was, yeah. So
Well, one of the things that I don't know if you actually know this, but I always think about Carole, is when I think about being strong in the face of this disease. So many years ago, when Carole and I were on the board together, she came up with this social media campaign. You never know how strong you are until being strong is all you have. And it was so important and impactful. And I always think of that when I think about being strong as a T1D parent. I always think of Carole. So can you just talk to us just a little bit about how did you find your strong when you were exhausted, or maybe just feeling a little bit weak on the journey?
yeah, it's a good question. Well, first of all, I kind of feel like I was always kind of a strong person. I was kind of my parents, my mother kind of raised me that to be strong. And I think also there's another bias there, because I refuse to give type 1 diabetes any credit for anything positive. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give it, that disease credit. But it challenges you in ways that you never thought you would have to be challenged. And I think for any parent, the challenge to be strong is when you see your child suffering, and you see your child having to deal with something that they shouldn't have to deal with. And I just remember thinking that and my husband felt this way as well, if we were weak around him, and if we had negative vibes, and I don't mean negative as saying, we acknowledge the disease is awful, and I think it's okay to do that. And but we really wanted to set an example for him, that the best way to go about this is to not let your guard down emotionally. Like, this is not going to control me, kind of thing. And I think that's the strength was really for him, is to kind of show him this is a path forward. Because I can't imagine being a young child and having this diagnosis. I'm sure that goes through their minds, like, what's going to happen to me? How's my life going to be? And that's where we really got our strength, was to reassure him that he was going to be okay, as long as he uh, you know respected the disease for what it is. It
Mm,
can be, you have to respect the disease
yeah.
to us to what it does to your body. So, like I said, the strength part, I think every parent has to be strong for their children, no matter what they're dealing with.
Yeah. That's so true. Such wise words, such wise words. Well, Carol was one of the beta readers for my book, meaning that she read the entire manuscript before I submitted
Mhm.
it to the publisher. So I am forever grateful to Carol for that. But was there any particular section of the book or a story that you remember that resonated really well with you and that you hope others would be able to have a chance to read about?
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for giving me that opportunity. And I just remember reading it. I was frustrated because I wish I had had something like that when Chris first got sick. I really did. There was nothing. I think that type 1 organizations would do, all their members such a service by providing a book like that.
Mm.
Because there was nothing. I was given technical books, and I'm not a technical kind of sciencey person. So all I knew is that his pancreas wasn't working. I didn't need to know anything else. You know what I mean? Like, well, that's it. That's it. So this book to me was a shining light. But again, it just came, Chris was 9 and we didn't really have that. I was so primarily focused on when you spoke about Austin going off into adulthood,
Mm.
because I'm right behind you
There
on
I
that.
go.
And so those were the parts that I just really focused in on. And it's so comforting to know when there's someone else, you know, thinking about sending their child out into the world and and having to deal with the challenges that type 1 diabetes presents. So I really focused on that, especially like with Austin when he went to college in his first year, freshman year. And I'm in that boat now, and it is like you're in my ear telling me the story right there, because I remembered every word of it. But
Oh,
it's such a useful thing that you've provided, Bonnie. It really, really is. And I really hope that this can be like a standard handout, when a parent has this horrible diagnosis for their child. I just remember thinking about my child, thinking, what will his life be like?
right,
Because you have no idea.
right, right. Well, gosh, Carol, thank you so much for being with me today on this first, kickoff for these little sessions together for National Diabetes Awareness Month. So all month long, we're going to be talking about the themes from my book, Chronic Hope: Raising a Child with Chronic Illness with Grace, Courage, and Love, which releases on April 13th. The ebook is going to release earlier, though, on January 12th, which is the day after the 99th anniversary of the first time insulin was used in the world. So that's a day to celebrate. Chronic Hope is available now for pre-order on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And you can also go over to my website, bonnieoneal.com, and get 2 free advance chapters of the book today. So any day, actually, from now on. So, and they're not the first 2 chapters that, you'd be able to see on Amazon later on. These are chapters farther in. So go ahead and do that. And thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.